And we're back. The knife we were holding at the end of chapter 1 was totally for eating that pie. No other reason. Sure. Anyway, we arrive late to school. Even Susie is here before us. Jeez. Class starts and Birdley, yeah, that guy, I'm very smart, starts giving a presentation on the assigned reading. Before long, we start dozing off. The next thing we know, class is already over. We head into the hallway and find Susie waiting for us. She's surprisingly excited to go back to the dark world. She immediately grabs us and starts rushing towards the supply closet. Before we can get there, however, Noelle stops by and scares the life out of Susie because, we can't exactly let people know about our secret dimension hidden in the supply closet. Noelle gives Susie a gift and we find out it's chalk. My bad, Susie. My bad, I told Noelle, last evening that you like chalk. She was just trying to get as much information as she could out of me, okay? Anyway, we enter the supply closet once again and return to the dark world where Rousey is waiting to greet us. Judy notices something immediately. Where is everybody? Rousey explains that all of the Darkners we met in chapter 1 were created by the dark fountain we sealed. Since that fountain is gone, so are they. However, Rousey believes that if we bring the objects they originated from into Castletown, they should regain their forms. Since Castletown contains the Grand Fountain, it can support darkness from any dark world. So we head to the abandoned classroom, grab all those cards, toys, and random junk lying around, haul everything back to Castletown, and bam, everyone's back. The whole gang returns. Castletown becomes way more lively, and we learned that as we befriend more enemies during future adventures, they'll move here too. Now, instead of being an empty castle, the place is packed with familiar faces just hanging around. Rousey gets us a tour and even reveals that he's made room for both Chris and Susie. Susie especially is excited about having her own room. Unfortunately, our fun gets cut short when Rousey remembers something important. We still have a school project due, so Rousey basically kicks us out of the dark world until we finish our homework. Lancer wants to come with us though, so he jumps into our pocket in card form. Rules card comes too. Susie wonders where Lancer went. Turns out he's literally just a playing card sitting in our pocket. Makes sense, I guess. So we leave to work on our group project. We decide to head to the library and use the computer lab. But when we get there, yeah, the computer lab has been transformed into another dark fountain, which means somebody created another dark fountain. Could the knight still be out there making them? Well, there's only one way to find out. Time to jump in. As soon as we arrive, we hear somebody scream in the distance. It's Noelle. Noelle's in this dark world. Oh no. Before we can help her, she's captured by a mysterious new figure known as Queen. Queen takes Noelle and leaves us behind to deal with a few enemies. Luckily, Rousey arrives just in time and literally puts them to sleep. The gang is back together, and time for another adventure. We begin exploring this new cyber world, battling enemies and trying to track down Noelle. Along the way, Queen challenges us to what's basically a game of Punch-Out. Yeah, we win that pretty easily. Queen runs away again. Later, we run into a dance squad and prove beyond a shadow of doubt that we have the sickest moves in the entire cyber world. Yeah, you go there, Chris. Yeah. Eventually, we find Noelle riding on a roller coaster. And, of course, Birdley is there, too. Great. For some reason, Birdley has decided to work for Queen. Of course he has. Yeah, you just do that. We deal with that nerd and continue onward, but before long, the roller coaster track ends and everybody falls into the trash. Well, guess back to finding Noelle. While searching, Rousey and Susie get separated from us, leaving Chris alone in the middle of a giant cyber city. Eventually, we actually find Noelle hiding from Queen, who is also hiding from Birdley. Honestly, the relationships in this chapter are getting complicated. Since Noelle is new to all this, we teach her how the battles work and explain that we don't necessarily have to hurt anybody. This goes surprisingly well, and we even solve puzzles together, make our way through the city, dodging cars and traffic. And for a brief moment, things seem, pretty good. And then Birdley's back. Great, nice. He sees Noelle with us and somehow comes to the conclusion that we're holding her hostage. Yep, that leads to another fight. Anyways, we're gonna just beat him. Boop. Done with that. Anyway, since Queen also keeps finding us, we decide Noelle needs a disguise. This is foolproof. Absolutely nothing's gonna go wrong. Eventually, Queen finds us anyway and invites us into her car. And we agree. Soon we get stuck in a massive traffic jam and Queen orders us to fix it. So we get out of the car and start making our way through the traffic when suddenly... Oh, who is this guy? What kind of late night infomercial salesman just crawled out of the dumpster? Meet Spamtim G. Spamtim, a self-proclaimed businessman who immediately starts trying to sell us things. After a very normal and definitely not unsettling conversation, he tells us that we're looking for freedom and that we should meet him later at his shop in the trash area alone. Not suspicious whatsoever. After dealing with the traffic situation, we spend some time talking with Noelle. During these conversations, we learn more about her family, including her missing sister December, or Des for short. Yeah, that's rough, Noelle. Unfortunately, before we can continue, we get captured again and thrown into jail. This is very familiar. Luckily, Lancer is on the case, helps us escape. As we make our way through the mansion, something strange starts happening. Lancer begins turning to stone. We soon reunite with Rousey and show him what's happening. As the resident Darkner expert, Rousey explains that Darkners can't survive indefinitely in Dark Worlds that aren't their own. Their bodies eventually begin to petrify. However, if we take Lancer back to Castletown, he'll be fine. Which also explains why all Darkners from previous adventures can live there safely. But this raises a very interesting question. How is Rousey okay? Rousey's a Darkner too, so what object is he? And if he isn't from this Dark World, how did he get here? For that matter, how did we show up in Cyberworld before us? That's suspicious. Anyway, I guess we'll have to save that mystery for another day. For now, the core group is finally back together, and at last we arrive at the grand entrance of Queen's Mansion. But you want to change fate. You hunt out another Shadow Crystal. So, we take a pause from the adventure, and let's get over how we get that real quick, because you think you're up for the challenge once again in Chapter 2. First, we take the secret door back to Trash Zone. Actually, it's not really a secret door, but anyways, we go back into that back alley area where Spamton told us to meet us. There he is. We go ahead and purchase the key gen from him with the Chromer. Seems pretty excited doing this. He gives instructions on what we need to do. We go into Queen's Mansion, hit the secret lever, and then there's this key, which we need to use the key gen to unlock. Then we go into this weird basement, go to the left to see our first sighting of Friend. Then we ride the teacup ride down. Click this little lever to activate the switch on top. Then we do this, which could have been a boss fight itself, this very difficult teacup ride back up. Then we take the path to the right. Then we go into that entrance, and there should be a machine husk in there that has the disc we actually need. So we take the disc from the machine, we go back out, we take it back to Spamton in the trash zone, we give the disc, and then, yeah, he seems a little excited there about getting that. Anyways, we confirm the transfer, which puts him in the disc, and yeah, that shouldn't be any repercussions whatsoever. We put the disc back into the machine husk, and nothing happened. All right, let's just get out of here. Nope. Spamton is back, and he has a bit of an upgrade. You could say he's a big shot. Yeah. Yep, Spamton has somehow uploaded himself into a giant robot known as Spamton Neo. As cool as the new look is, though, Spamton starts talking about something we've heard before. Freedom. Just like Jevil back in Chapter 1, Spamton is obsessed with the idea of breaking free. He talks about strings, being controlled, and wanting to stop being a puppet, which is a little concerning. Especially because he apparently thinks the solution is taking our soul. Spamton corners us and prepares one massive attack to finally claim it. Things aren't looking great, but right before he can blast us into next week, our friends show up to save the day. Problem solved. Or not, because Spamton immediately drags them into the chaos too. Great job, guys. Now everybody's trapped in this nightmare. To make matters worse, Spamton starts sending out little waves of Spamtons riding roller coasters all over the place, and somehow things get crazier because our soul suddenly transforms. And just like that, it's time to play Galaga! After an absolutely insane fight, we finally defeat Spamton Neo. As he's falling apart, he gives us more cryptic messages. You know, the usual secret boss stuff. He talks about freedom, strings, and says that with power like ours, maybe we can break our own strings too. Which is a very normal thing to say and definitely not foreshadowing anything. After all that, Spamton decides he wants to become our strength and transforms into a piece of armor we can equip. And of course, most importantly, we receive the Shadow Crystal, the same mysterious item we got from Jevil. Definitely important. Definitely not something Toby Fox is casually handing out for no reason. As we leave though, something feels different. Chris doesn't seem okay after that fight. The game lingers on it for a moment before moving on. Almost like whatever Spamton was talking about hit a little too close to home. Anyway, back to our regular scheduled adventure. We continue exploring Queen's Mansion, destroying vases, searching for keys inside hidden pots. Instead of checking every vase manually, we basically unleash a dog to smash everything in sight until we find the key. Peak puzzle solving. After that, we ride giant teacups while Susie enjoys some hot chocolate because apparently we're at an amusement park now. Eventually, we find a room filled with Queen's butlers, who accidentally reveal some very important information about the knight. They mention things like, the knight created the fountain in this world, and the Queen is very interested in the video where the knight creates the fountain by its own hand. Now hold on, that's huge. At this point, we can basically confirm that the knight is the one creating these dark fountains, not just this one. And remember the prophecy, the balance between light and dark was stable. But now, somebody keeps creating new fountains, tipping that balance further and further toward darkness. Whoever the knight is, they're the reason all of this is happening. We continue onward and get a nice little swan ride with Rouse before being stopped by everyone's favorite rules enthusiast, Rules Card. Of course he's back, and he's brought back the thrash machine we designed in Chapter 1. You know, the machine that was supposed to thrash our own ass. Turns out, that's exactly what it's trying to do. Thankfully, we beat Rules at his own game. But during the fight, something alarming starts happening. Just like Lancer, Rules begins to turn into stone. Yeah, we really need to get these guys back to Castletown. Meanwhile, the story cuts over to Noelle. She's being held prisoner in a surprisingly luxurious room, while Susie sneaks in to rescue her. Noelle still believes this whole adventure is just a dream, and honestly, the rest of the group is probably okay with keeping it that way. During their conversation, Noelle talks more about her missing sister Des, and how much she wishes she could see her again, and this world. It's honestly one of the more emotional moments in the chapter. Eventually, Susie and Noelle ride a Ferris wheel together, and there's definitely some chemistry happening here. Like, a lot. The game is not exactly subtle about it. The two eventually reunite with the group. Unfortunately, Birdley shows up. But before things get too awkward, Birdley reveals that he also has feelings. Not for Noelle anymore, but for Susie. Yeah, we officially have a love triangle now. Birdley explains that he admires Susie because she doesn't put up with his nonsense. She's strong, confident, and completely immune to his attempts at showing off. For the first time ever, someone is actually willing to call Birdley out on being annoying. And surprisingly, it works. Throughout this chapter, Birdley starts developing as a character. You realize he doesn't need to constantly prove he's smarter than everyone else. He doesn't need to act superior all the time. And honestly, by the end of the chapter, Birdley is actually kind of alright. Anyway, the group finally regroups and reaches Queen. Time for the big showdown. Except, oh no! Birdley gets captured. Guess we're saving him too. During all of this, Queen casually drops another important line about the knight. She says, "Is what I wondered until the knight appeared and created this wonderful world of darkness." Again, more confirmation the knight created this dark world. No question about it. After freeing Birdley, Queen distracts us with the oldest trick in the book. Look over there. And somehow it works. Queen immediately leaves while we're distracted. We eventually do catch up with her, where she launches into a massive monologue. The night. The roaring night. Today, it deigned to create this world. Reaching its long hand to the sky, it coursed its will into its blade and made, thrusting the fountain from the earth. Unfortunately, the world they created is trapped within the confines of the library. If only we had a way to make more darkness, we might be able to cover the whole world. That is when I realized this power, This power of the will, this power of determination, is this not something that all Lightners possess? If one was simply determined enough, could not anyone make a dark fountain? So then, if the night has taken its leave, then I will simply make a new one. From Queen's explanation, we learned something incredibly important. Apparently, Lightners possess enough determination or willpower to create dark fountains, not darkners, Lightners, which means the night can't be a darkner. The night has to be someone from the light world, someone from hometown, someone we've potentially already met. That narrows the suspect list down considerably. Queen then reveals her ultimate plan. The knight has already left, so if she can't use the original knight, she'll just make a new one, using Noelle. Queen wants Noelle to create another dark fountain, so the cyber world can spread across the entire world instead of being confined to the computer lab. Thankfully, Susie interrupts before that can happen. Queen falls from her platform. Problem solved. Nope, because she immediately returns piloting a giant freaking robot. Of course she does. This is Deltarune. Meanwhile, Birdly finally steps up and gathers all of the friends we've made throughout our journey. Just like Chapter 1, all the allies we spared and befriended come together to help us. Former enemies become allies. Everyone rallies behind us, and together, we create what might be the greatest thing ever conceived, the true ultimate group project. With the power of friendship, teamwork, and whatever nonsense Birdly is contributing, we're finally ready to take on Queen.
Round 1.
Fight!
We engage in an absolutely epic punch-out style battle against Queen. We're dodging crazy attacks, punching the heck out of her giant robot, and eventually manage to charge up one final attack. Queen launches her ultimate blast, and we send it right back to her. Seems like we won. Wrong. Queen activates her last resort. Her detachable fists shoot across the battlefield and grab us. Now, she's literally got us to the palm of her hand. With us trapped, Queen commands Noelle to use this pen she gave her and create a new dark fountain. But Noelle has had enough. She spent the entire chapter being told what to do. By Birdly, by Queen, by everyone. And for once, she decides to stand up for herself. Ralsei says, guess we can seal the fountain now, right everybody? But then everyone pauses to think about it. And Noelle says something interesting. Queen, she said, choose the world that makes you happy. I don't want to live in a world ruled by her. But if that wasn't the case, I wonder if this world wouldn't be so bad. Huh? Susie, don't you think so too? Now that you mention it, Chris, isn't this world just better? We make so many friends here, you know? I've never had an adventure like this before. With axes and battles and magic, where everything can be healed with one little spell. And no matter what happens, no one tells us what to do. Gosh, yeah, so even if things were really scary just now, I mean...
So is there any reason not to?
Not that I can think of. Me neither.
Then, Noelle, let this be my real apology.
Queen's plan falls apart, or so we think, because Birdly decides to step in. He grabs his axe to create a dark fountain himself. Luckily, Ralsei immediately stops him. And honestly, Ralsei's completely baffled at this point. He's basically standing there wondering what the heck everybody's doing. Then, when Ralsei reveals another piece of the legend... When the light is a mist by shadow. When the fountains fill the sky. All will fall into chaos. The Titans will take form from the fountains and envelop the land in devastation. The surviving Darkners, crushed by the darkness, will slowly, one by one, turn into statues, leaving the Lightners to fend for themselves. Lost eternally in an endless night. Is that your idea of paradise? And suddenly everything clicks. Everyone looks horrified. Birdley regrets his decision instantly. Noelle is shocked. Susie is shocked. Even Queen is shocked. Wait, even Queen? Our enemy doesn't want this to happen? Queen explains that she was simply following the examples set by the knight. She saw the knight create a dark fountain and assumed that was a good thing. Then she basically says, "Why would I want to end the world?" Fair point, honestly. With the misunderstanding cleared up, Queen agrees to let us seal the fountain. She prepares to say goodbye, but Rousey reminds her that it doesn't actually have to be a goodbye. Castletown can support darkness from any dark world, so assuming Queen's light world counterpart is just some computer equipment sitting around in the library somewhere, we can simply bring her to Castletown too. And just like that, Goodbye.exe has been cancelled. With everything settled, it's finally time to seal the fountain. Susie seems conflicted. She points out the Roaring Night keeps creating these fountains. They're clearly the cause of all the problems, but she also admits something interesting. Since the night started appearing, life has gotten a lot more exciting. The adventures, the friendships, everything that's happened. For a moment, she wonders if stopping the night is really the right thing to do. But she quickly pushes that thought aside. That's a problem for another day. Chris, it's your turn. And it is. Once again, we raise our soul toward the sky. The fountain is sealed, and the cyber world disappears. We wake up back in the computer lab. Noelle and Birdley are both confused by otherwise. Noelle is convinced the whole thing was just a dream. As everyone starts heading home, Noelle notices something behind Susie. Turns out she learned during the adventure that Susie has a tail, and now she's trying to see it again. Susie immediately notices and gets defensive. Some things never change. Before ending the day, we head back to Castletown and bring over all the computer lab objects. Sure enough, Queen arrives and joins the rest of the Darkners. Castletown just keeps getting bigger. While we're there, we also show Sham our shadow crystals. Sham mentions that if we can find more of them, they might be able to put something together. Then they casually mention that they have the feeling our next opponent might not even be possible to beat. You know, just a completely normal thing to say, not concerning at all. The king is still locked away, and Queen decides to go visit him. Apparently those two have a very interesting relationship. She's also volunteered to help take care of Lancer. Honestly, that's probably for the best. With Dark World busyness wrapped up, we return to the Light World. We check in on Noelle and her father. We attempt to explain Dark Worlds to the police. They laugh at us. Expected. We stop by the mysterious bunker again where Susie scares away some nearby students. Even so, she can't help but wonder what the heck that place is. Honestly, same. Later, we stop by Sans' store. Toriel seems to be getting along surprisingly well with Sans, maybe a little too well. Then Asgore shows up and tries joining in on the jokes and introducing himself as Toriel's ex-husband. Wow, comedy gold. Needless to say, things get awkward very quickly. Eventually, it's time to head home. Susie starts to leave, figuring that's the end of the day. But before she can go, Toriel opens the door and realizes she's the friend Chris has been hanging out with. Without hesitation, she invites Susie inside. The change in Susie's attitude is immediate. The tough bully act vanishes. Suddenly, she's trying to be as polite and respectful as possible. It's honestly kind of adorable. Toriel's about to bake another pie and asks Susie to help. Meanwhile, she tells us to go wash our hands. At the moment we get to the bathroom, oh, we're doing this again. Chris rips out their soul. Cool. Totally normal behavior. After hiding the soul, Chris climbs out of the window, and we don't see them for quite a bit, but they manage to crawl back in and return to the living room as if nothing happened. The pie is almost done. Toriel offers Susie the chance to stay the night. All she needs to do is call her parents first. Susie pretends to make the call, but it's pretty obvious she never actually does, which still leaves a question: what exactly is going on at home for Susie? Eventually, everyone settles in for the evening. Susie throws on the TV and starts talking about the upcoming festival. At first she pretends she doesn't care, that it's stupid, but then she asks who we'd invite if we actually went. Interesting. Before long, she starts drifting off to sleep, and eventually, so do we. The camera shifts over to Toriel. Apparently, she calls the cops and reports someone has slashed her tires. I wonder who could possibly done that. Then Toriel joins us in the living room, and for the first time in a while, everyone settles down for what seems like a peaceful night's rest.